and some guy grabbed him from the back of his hair and pulled him off this table, and they started beating the crap out of him. So long story short, I'm sitting here, I'm shaking because I'm scared to death, and I wasn't scared of the fighting. I was pretty much scared of the sounds and the noises that they were making, right? So you hear women screaming and screeching, and then you hear the guys, and when they're fighting, they were sitting there screaming at each other, talking shit, right? But it was just like this weird, cringe-worthy sound, and I hated it. Next thing you know, all the tables are flipped over, police start to come in, and so my dad grabs my mom, runs over to the table, grabs me, and we meet our uncles outside. So we get into the car, and we're just, everything's back to normal. My dad's kind of used to this scenario, so he hops in the car, he starts, chattering with my uncles in Vietnamese, and they came up with the plan. They're like, okay, great, now let's go back to the house and grab our guns because, we don't know what's gonna pop off tonight. And so they start driving us back over to where the apartment complex we stayed at the time. And I remember we're driving off maybe 5 minutes into it, and my mom's like, oh shit, someone's following us. And so my dad looks back and my uncles look back, and they're like, oh, it's those fucking Italian guys, right? And so there were maybe 4 or 5 sitting in a car, and they were just right on our tails, right? And so my dad starts picking up the pace, and instead of hopping on the freeway like he normally does, he actually goes through small streets to see if we can lose him. So we're going through these little streets, try to head back to the area where we're at, and these guys were right up against our tail, and so they were honking their horns and screaming. I think I can remember a guy was throwing a penny or a quarter at our car because I could hear like clanking noises right off our car. And so yeah, we're driving around, we're turning around back and forth, and my dad starts gunning it, so he starts driving real fast. I remember we got a good distance on him for a minute because we took a couple right turns, and then we end up at the apartment complex. So mind you, at this time, my mom's in the car, my dad's in the car, I'm in the car, which 6 or 7 year old kid, and 2 or 3 uncles were in the car at the time. We had like a wagon or something like that. And so my dad screeches, puts on the e-brake, hops in front of the house, and he runs in and grabs his guns, right? So he grabs a couple guns. My